sure it's working. I'm going to screen.
Mic check, 1, 2, mic check, 1, 2.
I apologize. My phone is a little bit laggy. I have restarted. Camo can. I have restarted. Camo can.
Mic check, 1, 2.
It's working. All right, it is working. Sorry about that. I just got copyright because of that music. But welcome back. It's not that big of a deal. I'm sorry. We have to pretty much go over the topics that we already did because Mets, our audio was not working. I'm kind of sad about that because we had a great conversation going.
Oh, it was okay. We'll do it again. I mean, it was only.
I mean,
at least we caught it in the beginning. It's not like anything major.
yeah,
Premier was
exactly.
with Vegas was a good race. I know they didn't hear me, but they heard you. So I'm gonna give what I said. Premier was a great race. Some controversy at the end of stage 2 that we'll talk about. That led into stage 3. We got a preview on NXT Dega. We got a preview on Premier Phoenix race, the second race of round of 10. Um, it's crunch time. It's we'll talk about it. We got an interview with Lost tonight, as you said. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully everything will go good. Hopefully he gets in here in a couple seconds, and so we can start that a little bit later. And yeah, we'll go over what. So we want to talk about. We talked about Vegas. Thought about Iron Man doing great.
Yes.
Talked about how he won the stage. Who had the flu or sickness during the weekend into Monday. So he did the best he could. He practiced a lot. He's told me and privately. He wanted to get his car on the bottom lane because he knew majority of people we're going to use that middle to upper lane because it's a multi-groove. It's one of the few multi-groove tracks that we have on Heat 5, and he wanted to get that down pat. I think he perfected it to enough where he could get one of his best points day of the year. It was a great race, in my opinion, for everybody. It was something that you always want in a playoff race. People racing hard, some incidents here and there, but that's going to happen. People racing had really hard and some walls. We had some lag issues from some people that might cost some
Mm.
people some playoff points, but can't really
It
judge.
happens.
It happens.
You can't control a
It's what we
game.
get. Yep. But overall, it was a great race. But we'll get into the little controversy in the second stage where we had some fuel mileage. It was only a two. It was only a
Two
two-lap
laps.
save. Um, I'm on controller. I was even able to save it. So it wasn't major. I'm a little off the pace. I can controller you to be a little off the pace. I think a lot of people hit on that choose rule to get that little extra lap.
Yes.
They
And
got it. They used it
I,
perfectly. And then we had, you had to save. Some people did not save. Some people went
mhm.
out, had a pit. Obviously lost a lap. We only had 14 to 15 cars on every lap after the stage was over. And then um, we had a caution, say 3 to 4
think
laps into the stage.
it was
Um,
stage 3.
it was stage 3. It was definitely
Um,
stage 3.
it was definitely stage 3, and the situation, from what I've gathered, is that Insolable decided to go one lap around. He actually did this. Me and Camo saw it during the actual race. He actually capitalized one time. He actually didn't pit immediately. He went one lap around and actually came out second place on the track after pitting with the whole group.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out once later in the race. But
Yeah.
during this time, he decided to do one lap around. There were wave around cars, and there was a lot of them. So he decided to pit on the that lap, and all the wave arounds were like confused because the leader's pitting. So what did they do? And actually, few of them stayed out and actually got the lap back. Well, two of them, I think it was Savage and another person, actually pitted with
Mm-hmm.
him. So I think that's where the controversy came in, because Savage, you did pit with the leader. I mean, honestly, I don't really blame Insolable for anything. He's trying to benefit off the situation. Remember, he's in the playoffs himself, so he's trying to get the best position. But at the same time, I can see why Savage can be confused there.
Yeah, Savage wasn't really confused. He was really adamant because he knew that the 18 car pretty much cost his chance to get a wave around because it was only 3 laps into the stage. So if you took a wave around
Hmm.
in that situation, you get around. You're not really off sequence with the people who are already a lap ahead, already in the lead lap. So I think he was like perfect scenario right here to take a wave around. Um, but the 18 decided not to pit. He used the same strategy in that stage two. Obviously, you said it. The question I put in the uh, server today, was it the right decision um,
Hmm.
to do it? And in my opinion, for him, it was because it still trapped multiple cars a lot down who he was going
Yes.
for in the round of 10 playoffs, like a Savage, and like other people who were stuck a lot down with him. Savage frustrations obviously were heard. Legally, it was. The issue we had was the confusion about it from the admin side. Uh, we um, we obviously have the lap repit, lead lap cars pit. The next lap is usually the choose rule, and anybody can go down there and choose rule. As the 18 did in stage two, he was going to do the same thing. But during the time of that lap of angry people behind him saying, "Why didn't you pit there so we could have a wave around?" He didn't tell them he was going to pit the next choose rule so they could go around and legally have a wave around. So there was confusion there. Admin should have stepped up there and knew the situation and know that if he was going to pit during the choose rule, we were going to let the wave around cars go around since the 18 car did pit, and that was the only lead lap car who didn't pit. So he
Yep.
pitted. We should have let the wave around cars go around. But they also made the decision to pit, not knowing the 18 was going to pit with them.
Yes.
So that was one of their mistakes too, which they should have had the patience to wait and say, okay, he just pitted. Can I take a wave around now? That's what you did. They ruined their wave around chances because they pit with him, and you're not supposed to pit on a wave around. So that was the issue there. I've obviously caught, as we obviously said, 14 people were in the lead lap before that, so 15. Nobody got a wave around. There was one lucky dog, so I did, 15 people.
Yeah.
Was it the right decision for him? I don't know in long
Uh.
term because he didn't like finish top 10. It wasn't really a much change for him. 17th to probably 21st
I
saves
mean,
him a couple points
it.
here and there.
I
If
mean,
I was in his situation, I would do it. If I'm in a chase for a cup and I need as many points as I can get over a playoff driver, I'm going to do the best I can to make sure I finish ahead of them, even what time of the race it is. Um, I know there was some rough, some words said after it. I'm not gonna repeat that. Um, we'll see what happens at Phoenix with them. I don't know if it was hard feelings, but um, we'll see. Yeah, but personally, everything he did was legal.
it
Um,
was.
Everything
It
he
was
did
legal.
benefited him because Savage and I believe one other playoff driver finished behind him,
Two
and
playoff
that's
drivers finished
that's
behind
more
him.
points. That's more points for you compared to them. And there's different strategies, and we're not NASCAR, but it's a NASCAR game, so we have NASCAR strategies going into play, and to use a strategy to overcome it. I know people don't like the strategy of fuel saving. I know there's some controversy about fuel saving. But it wasn't major. If anybody with the controller could have saved, they could done it too. So if you were let down, you can't blame anybody but yourself in that scenario, in my opinion. Um, it's not going to change anything. Fuel saving happens. It doesn't happen every week. It doesn't happen every other week. It just happens randomly. Depends when a caution comes out. There's nothing set in stone. What's going to be a fuel mileage? What's not going to be a fuel mileage? Sometimes you line up to a race with 39 laps of green flag. You might have fuel mileage. You might not. You never know when a caution's going to drop. You never know when something's going to happen to cause a caution and make it a fuel mileage race. So it happens. I understand people upset about it. It ruins people's races sometimes. I know playoff drivers can be ultra, upset about something because of the stress about playoffs. I don't hold anybody accountable for that. I understand. Um, we're in a voice channel full of 30 people. Stuff can be said.
Yeah.
We try our best to keep it to a
Some
minimum.
weeks it can get
Um,
crazy.
I'm glad the commentary is not in our voice channel during those races because it was hectic. When you're in a
Hmm.
league full of one of the fastest people on the game, you know, stress happens, and we don't, we expect people to handle it in a certain way, not always the same way, the perfect way. Admins obviously don't, we're not perfect either. As I said, we should have done something. We should have let the way around cars go around once the 18 pitted during the choose lap. But obviously we can't see everything. So I wasn't made aware. Um, and then they also went ahead of the 18 upon entry at pit road, not knowing he was going to go in. So mistakes there, mistakes for us. It happens. We'll move on to Phoenix. We'll talk more about Phoenix. Um, but we also have an interview with one of our great,
Oh, and
great drivers in Lost, Plan B in 41,
who finished fourth place?
fourth place finish.
Irish. Oh yeah, we didn't go over the winners. So last
Oh,
week, so
we'll go over.
Irish, he was able to lock himself in at Premier at Vegas. So he won over surprisingly Impact, who came back from his vacation, had a great run for himself. But we're actually going to interview Loss, who's been the surprise of the playoffs, in my opinion. He's been very strong. He's one of those drivers who, in my opinion, has been on the rise. I mean, we saw Darlington, Charlotte Roval. He was top contender there. I mean, at Charlotte Roval, he was leading until the final corner. Darlington, he came up right beside that, I forget who it was again. It was a 31. He was right beside him at the line. It was such a good race, and we have him in the party now.
Yes, Lost, welcome, welcome, welcome. Great top five finish.
Howdy, fellas.
Another
Howdy.
great start to a round of 10 that led you to pass the round of 16. How was your race at Vegas went for you overall? I know top five, obviously, it's a good race. But what was your overall reaction at the end of the Vegas race?
Um, Stage one, I under-adjusted on the car. Honestly, I felt like the racing was actually really good throughout the field. Early on, I had a really good short run car, um, and I had to adjust on it to make it better. Early on, I made way too big of an under-adjustment and was just cracking loose. I made a couple mistakes in stage one and ended up out of the points, which was my fault. I should have adjusted way more than I did. And I figured I went under adjusted. Let's try to over adjust it. And I over adjusted a little bit. It was tight and center um, through the beginning of stage two. And when that caution came out, I really figured out the car and it was flying. But I knew I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
going to make it. And I made a bold strategy call. I knew everybody was going to pit and go a lap down because I know how Vegas works. And instead of doing that, I just intentionally ran myself out of fuel and said, screw the stage points. I knew I wasn't going to be able to save it on a controller without going 35 miles an hour down the backstretch. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of just kind of doing that, I just kind of bullshitted my way, made it to the last lap, and said, hey, you guys can pass me, take the stage points. Led a couple laps, I was really fast in stage two, and it built my confidence for stage three because at that point I knew I knew I had a flying car, and it showed. Whenever I got hooked up with, I think it was the 42. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we just went to the front.
Yeah, Impact.
We
Yeah,
just
you did.
at the in the middle of the stage, we just went from like way back. I think he started right in front of me at the beginning of the stage, and I mean, we just went to the front.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him both. I think my car was a little better than his. To be completely honest with you, I think I adjusted it really well that I could just catch people and go. I just didn't make the passes because I didn't want to lose Irish whenever he made that big move. I don't know how he gained 2 seconds on us. He did a really good job in pit row entry. Um, but I mean, I wanted to make sure that I was up there at least in the top five without getting the stage points, which I wasn't happy about. But
Mm-hmm.
I have Talladega, which I won 2 stages in Xfinity last or earlier this season there.
Mm-hmm.
I won two stages at Daytona during, or one stage each at Daytona for each of the races, and I think I won a stage at Talladega earlier in the season in Cup. So I feel really confident there, and Phoenix on a good track is a good track for me overall. So I felt really good about Vegas. I was glad, and this isn't like a bad thing. I was glad Didi wasn't in the field because
Mm-hmm.
that dude is him at Vegas. I don't know if he's in the chat, but he is flying there. Love Didi, and that's his best track by far. So when I saw that he was subbed out for Rowdy, I was
Mm.
shocked because he is so good at Vegas.
Now
Um,
that you have you've been in the ODRL for as long as you can, what is your what is your full expectations for the next couple of races? You got Phoenix coming up. You obviously said you have a great chance at Talladega. Now, what is your homestead plans? Obviously, you are a strong favorite to be championship floor. And I also have a question for you that our my great co-host right here, Brand, said that you're the most surprising driver. I clap
Most
back on
underrated.
that. Underrated driver? Okay, I'm sorry. Underrated driver.
I
How
don't
do you
mind
feel
Final
about
Four.
being how do you feel underrated? Because I believe you're not underrated. I believe you're one of the top premier drivers we have. Unintended right there because Premier Series. Um so how do you feel for Phoenix? How do you feel for Talladega? Obviously you said that. And then what's your homestead plans?
well, I'm not gonna give away my Homestead stuff just yet because I know Irish is flying fast there, and with him
Mm-hmm.
locked in,
He
I'm already
is.
scared. I mean, last season I was it was me and Irish on the off strategy. Um, that wasn't the save fuel strategy that Trippy and Iron Man and a couple of those other guys did. And it was me and him 1-2, but he was 2.5 seconds faster than me. I mean, he did really good at pit road entry, and he could just pull away. He had his car set up really good. So I have to go in differently this time and make a couple adjustments to the setup that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't want to give away too much because it's not my best track, but doesn't mean I can't win there. Doesn't mean that things can
Yep.
happen and we can
Mm-hmm.
get things moving. It's a track I'm definitely going to practice if I go out and win, say next week, which I think I don't want to say there's a strong chance, but Phoenix has been one of my better tracks in league racing for a long time. I remember when I used to race in Tenacious's league with some of the best people I've ever raced with in my entire life, and I went out and won a stage just out
Mm-hmm.
of the blue. I was a 15th place driver and I went and won a stage.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of my better tracks in league racing. I have at least 3 or 4 league wins at Phoenix alone. So I feel confident there. Do I feel as confident in this new car as I did in the old car? That's to be debated, but I mean, the new car just races like the truck,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a little
Mm.
faster. So
I could see that.
it does. It's a big, bulky thing that doesn't like to turn. Um, and it sucks,
Stable.
but you got the shifting. The shifting changes the entirety of the race. It's going to change it from who can be the fastest to who can save a little bit more fuel than the other guy. Which I like that it's going to play strategy that way. I just hope that it doesn't play it the entire way where we're kind of in a position where somebody can make it 50 laps and other people that are on controller can only make it 40 laps.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't see it being that drastic because tire wear at Phoenix is horrible. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like
It
Gateway, but it's
is.
not good at all, especially when you burn up that right rear. So I gotta figure out a
Very
setup to
true.
where I don't just shank my right rear and give it hell. But I don't know, the next 2 weeks I'm really excited for. I think Outcast has, and I said this in the post race interview, but I think Outcast has one of the best super speedway packages in the entirety of ODRL. All
Mm-hmm.
4 of our guys are up there every single time we're racing a super speedway. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Talladega, or sorry, excuse me, Daytona. Me and Silent Kings were 1-2 in stage one last season.
Mm-hmm.
Or not last season. Last time we went to a super speedway.
Yeah, early season
And I
finale.
think, yeah, and I think Cody was fourth or fifth. So like we have some really good speed. Not to mention GSR, he's really good at the speedways too.
Mhm.
And he's sitting sixth in points. He didn't have a bad race last week. Got some stage points for
Quiet.
him. We're gonna work to try to get two of these guys in, and that's our goal.
Well,
And
I
for
don't want to. I don't want to advance too far because obviously we talked about Homestead and Phoenix and Talladega, but I also be amiss to not bring
Phoenix.
up next season. You obviously made
Ooh.
waves by a big decision by signing with Iron Legion, along with your now owner, Outcast owner
yes,
Spartan. So I want to know what is your looking forward? Are you looking forward to next season with being in a new team, being part of a new organization with Iron Legion and the history they have? I know Iron Man is really looking forward to it. I talk to him about it mostly once a
yeah.
week. So what are you looking forward to with it being on a new team next year? And what is your hope for next year? Say that you are in the Final Four this year. What is your hope to do next year for the team wise?
So, I mean, the obvious answer to that is yes, I'm really excited to work with those guys. I know Proxy fucking, excuse my language, but he loves me. Um, and I love working with Proxy, and I think that we'll make a really good fit together. And
Hmm.
I think I could work with a lot of people in this league. Like it's after silly season, so I guess I can talk about this. But
Mhm.
I had people call me up and say like, "Hey, I want to work with you. Let's do this." I had Midnight talk to me. I had a couple other people talk to me. And it wasn't like it was like a one-person show where it was like, oh, it was only ILM or nothing else.
Mhm.
I wanted to bring Cody in because Cody's done me really well since I started working with him last season. Nothing but respect. I mean, he's a local guy. He lives 25 minutes from me.
Mhm.
And, we're going to go later on this year and go and watch a race down at Lernerville, the local track that's around us, which Cody loves talking about. And he's probably mentioned it to you guys at least once or
Mhm.
twice.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to go down and see a race. And I'm like, that's my guy. If there's anybody I want to work with, no matter what, it's him. And, he's still going to have the team. Ultimately, my goal was to have more than just an organization, but to have a friendship. That's really what I
Mhm.
want to get out of league racing is I don't yeah, I could race and have fun. Yeah,
Mhm.
I could do this, that, and the other thing, but I just want a friendship. And, at the end of the day, there's obviously the big goals that we want. We want all four cars in the final four. We want this, we want that. Is it realistic? I think it can be, but,
Mhm.
I'm not going to talk crazy. There's really good people in this league. Talk about Didi, who's going to be full time next season. You got Irish, you got um, Sterlo, you got Proxy, you got so many people that are really
Crowdy.
good. Yeah. Well, yeah, RC
There's a
Crowdy.
lot of good guys.
Um,
RC Crowd insight.
It's gonna. Oh yeah, RC Crowdy, my man.
um,
It's rowdy. It's rowdy.
We
it's
know.
Camel
Rowdy.
got on me. He
Y-
got on me for that.
Yeah. So Rowdy, if you're
Hey,
inside
law.
me next week, you'll get an RC Crowdy out of nowhere. But anyways,
Oh no.
there's a lot of people in this league that are really fast. Even Impact, like I was mentioning, talking about him earlier. I mean,
Mhm.
I give nothing but props to him, and I made a mistake and bumped him at some point in Vegas, and I apologize for it now.
Mhm.
But I mean, I have immense respect for a lot of the people that race in the league. They race me clean and effective, and sometimes I have my blow ups. We're not going to talk about Charlotte, but at the end of the day, we're gonna, you know, I'm pretty happy with the guys that are in this league. They're fast, they're clean,
Mhm.
they do things the right way. And yeah, we have off races, but no matter what, in any league that you're gonna go into, and I can say this is I've been in leagues for 4 or 5 years, and I've seen the good leagues, I've seen the bad leagues, I've seen the difference. I'd rather have a league where there's a little bit of inconsistency race to race instead of being in leagues that I've been in before where there was two cautions all season, which is great looking at it.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
16 guys, there's two cautions, but the same two people win every week. And
Yeah.
you're running in
True.
the same position every week. It's really hard. It's competitive, which is great, but it always feels like you're behind the eight ball. And, selfishly, I mean, obviously we want to win. We want to be good at what we do, just as
Mhm.
Hey,
people that
it
play
will
video
come.
games. No, no,
Your
definitely. And
wins.
this was way back when. This was when I was racing with Tenacious and them, and this was after well, this was when I was with ICJ racing in his league, because I
Mhm.
raced with him for almost 2 years, and I have nothing but respect for him. Even if our relationship faltered towards the end, I still have nothing but respect for the guy. He ran a really good league until it fell apart, which he still runs his Thursday night um, Lightning stuff with. Uh, I can't remember what the co-owner's name is. His name's Dakota, but
Mhm.
um, I mean they're good people. Every league that I've been in, I've taken something out of it, and it's always for the most part. I mean, there's a couple leagues obviously you're like I don't really want to talk about it, but
Mhm.
I mean I've
I
made
mean,
relationships and I've talked to good people. Like there was one league I ran in, Pure All Kings League, and I met West.
Ooh,
You
I don't
know,
like that one.
I didn't like that one either. And I think you were in that league too when
There's
I was racing in it. Um,
was I?
I
That
think
was
you
oh,
a
might have been.
while.
well,
I
anyway,
commentated for like a week or two. Let's get off of that.
yeah. Let me
Lost. I have a.
diverse. Brandon, you question. If we have any, if we have any viewer questions, please get them in. Bren might have them
Um,
marked. I don't know if he has
I
them
have a.
marked or not, but I'll let Bren take it from here.
Yeah,
I have actually a personal question for
go
Lost.
for it.
So, this season, what it's okay? I know you're. I think you're gonna make the final four, but what's your overall goal when you get to Homestead? Like after the season, I don't know. What's the question? How has your season so far been, especially like currently how it is?
Fantastic. I mean, we got our first win.
Mhm.
We've
Definitely.
dominated.
Walk into win.
We've went out and dominated races, even if we didn't win them. And we've made strides not just as an individual. Last season, my I kind of struggled mightily, and while yeah, I made the round of eight by 1 point because I passed. Ironically, I think it was Trippy at Vegas with like 1 lap to go in the final quarter to make it with a three-way tie, which I still cannot believe that happened.
Hmm.
But
Wow.
it was a three-way tie between me. I can't remember who the two other ones were. It might have been Proxy and someone else, but I won because I won a stage at like Auto Club. I won 2 stages at Auto Club and moved on because of it. But that's besides the point. Anyways, um, but you know, I was really not happy with myself last season. I made a lot of dumb mistakes. And while I didn't, I was clean and I didn't make mistakes on that end. I made a lot of stupid mistakes that I didn't have to. I put myself in bad positions when I didn't have to. And when I came into this season, just as a racer, I wanted to make sure that I did the best I could to not be as passive as I was last season. I'm
Mhm.
still passive. I'm not the most aggressive guy, and I don't want to be.
Yep.
That's not how I race. I don't want to throw crazy three wide moves. I don't want to dive bomb people unless, like, it's like the last lap. I might throw a little bit, but,
Yep.
I try to pride myself on racing clean. Am I perfect? God, no.
No.
I'm not a
No one
professional
is.
racer,
Nobody
and
is.
I don't proclaim myself to be, and nor do I want to be. That's why I still race on controller. I do this for fun. I'm not trying to
Mhm.
do this to collect money and do things, even though I would love to collect money for it, obviously. And
Ooh,
if
we
we
got a
do,
good one.
the money league thing, I know that's still kind of up in the air, but if we do end up doing it, I will pay for people to race because I like racing with some of them. Squid, I'm looking at you. Um, but anyways,
Aw.
hey, he said no. He said, I don't want your money. I said, I'm paying for you either way. And he said no. So if he gets signed to
Hmm.
somebody and isn't just a sub, because
Think
I
he's
think
a
he's going to end up
sub.
being a sub, but,
Mhm.
I'm
you know,
doing that as well, hopefully.
Now,
but
okay, we
Talk,
have a
talk.
viewer question here.
Yeah, I was
See
gonna
if I'm
say.
coming from
go
your
for it.
owner, your current owner.
S-
He's a good question for
Spartans.
you, by the way. Here. All right,
What's up?
who would be your Mount Rushmore in NASCAR right now? Greatest of all time
In
drivers in
in
NASCAR,
in
real
real life?
NASCAR. Yeah.
Okay,
Real
Chris
life,
Busher, Chris
yes.
Busher, Chris Busher, Chris Busher. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Oh,
no, I'm just
damn.
kidding.
Me personally? I
No, no,
actually like
no.
Chris Busher. He's not a bad
He's my
driver.
favorite driver. But anyways, realistically, we got You got Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty. Those are the obvious.
Hmm.
Those are two obvious ones. You got Jimmy Johnson. He's got 7 championships. So you got to give the 3 7 championships. Even though I think that the way Jimmy Johnson won his championships kind of nullifies it and puts him at 3.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think it puts him at 4 on the 4 Mount Rushmore, just because of the not
Mm.
the ease, but he only had to be good for 10 races. And with
Hmm.
the last one, where it was around a 16, he only had to be good for 1 race and win it. Nothing to take away from him. He's a fantastic race car driver, and that's why he's top 4.
Yeah.
But my third in
Number
that
4
list
or number 3?
is my number 3 is David Pearson.
Okay.
Silver
Ooh,
Fox was fantastic, and I think it's a kind of a toss-up between him and Cale Yarborough for me. But those would be my 4.
beautiful. That's an interesting four. I don't think I've ever heard those four, but all
I'm a
together. But
newcomer,
that's good.
so I don't know a lot of those
Now,
old
all
drivers.
right. Now we only got a short amount of time left with Mr.
He's
Lost.
got one more question
Um,
from Brady or Tyreek. Sorry for interrupting you, Mets. But he's asking, who do you think is gonna be the champion of the Real Life Cup Series this season?
Okay, I thought you were going to say ODRL, because I was going to say I'm not going to bet against myself. Danica Patrick quote right there. But anyways, Chris Buescher. No, I'm just kidding. I love Chris Buescher.
Imagine.
I
Wait, oh
honestly,
no.
what I've seen out of RFK the last like 4 weeks
They've been
has
impressive.
been phenomenal. They have been really fast across the board. After Kansas, they just lit it. They started lighting it up. Keselowski and Buescher both had great speed last week at Charlotte, and if it weren't for Buescher having just a nightmare pit scenario with Hamlin and Hunter Nemechek, I mean, he wouldn't have finished 23rd. He would have been a top 5 car. He was mowing through the field early. But ultimately, I think that realistically, if Larson gets the waiver, which I don't honestly think he will, because I feel like they would have, I think they would have said something
I
about it
mean,
already. I think they would have granted it already if they did.
yeah,
That's why I don't think they
it's
will.
definitely a good question mark. It's definitely a question mark. So
If
if you picked him, I wouldn't
Larson's
mind.
in it, then I would give it to him. If he's not in it, then I'm going to kind of throw a wild guess, and I think that Ty Gibbs is going to light it up in the final part of the season, get really hot, and I know it's kind of I know it's kind of laughable.
ooh, surprise.
I'm not a Joe Gibbs guy. I'm not even a Toyota guy. Excuse me, I don't like Toyota, but I think Ty
Okay.
Gibbs is going to light it up late in the season, and I could see him winning 3, 4 races just in towards like the last back half of the year and just go. I've seen the improvement from him so fast that I could see it. Do I like it? No, because I'm a Ford guy. But do I see it? 100%. But anybody can get hot. You saw Blaney. Nobody was expecting that to happen, and he got hot and lit it up.
I got my pick. I got my pick
We'll talk about it a little bit later, but we got final two questions here.
from
Georgia
Georgia.
Dog, Ford, Georgia Dog, fellow driver out here, got two questions for you. Little answer the first one a little bit. I can kind of answer the second one also, but I'm gonna give it to him. First question is what is your focus going forward as you try to punch your ticket into the final four?
Okay. My focus really is just keeping the relationships I have good and not making dumb mistakes.
Yeah,
Ultimately, at the
yeah.
end of the day, I think that this league racing is more of a relationship game than
Mm-hmm.
it is just being fast. You could be fast as hell. You could be Mr. Slide Job and have immaculate speed.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it actually is? No, because he kind of races in lesser
Yeah,
leagues.
I've had a
But
situation.
but
It's not
you
good.
see him, he's got raw speed. He's got 200 wins, but he races overly aggressively and shitty, and a lot of people don't like the way he races because of it. Yeah, he has the 200 wins and yada yada yada. I was there for his 200 win. It
Mm-hmm.
was an Indianapolis road course race, and I can't remember whose league it was, but it might have been PRL's, honestly. Um, I can't remember though, but it was Indy Roval, and I was fast with him all night, and I made a bad mistake, and I gave him the win for
Mm-hmm.
his 200th. Kind of ironic and similar to how Petty's 200th was with the asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
But um, you know, relationships are the big thing, especially with league racing. If you
Yeah.
have people that are
Trust you.
willing to race clean with you, that aren't willing to put you in the fence, that aren't willing to wreck you just because, oh, it's a championship and it's on the line and this, that, and the other thing. I think I'll take that any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I was so disappointed in the way I was raced at Charlotte was because I didn't expect it. But it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to change my way of racing because of it. I might I might be a little more aggressive towards him towards the end of races, but I'm not going to drive through him. Not for a final lap pass, even if it's for a championship. I'm not going to Daniel Hemrick someone. It's not how I race. At
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, I think that relationship building is important, and I think having the respect of other people in the league is going to make me not just a better driver, but a better person overall. Just knowing that people are wanting to help and not put me in the dust every time they see me.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah. I
Like,
cherish that the way you say about, you want to have friendships and you don't have to, you're racing this. Obviously, number one goal is fun. We do it competitively. Um, we do this. I do this for the love of it. I'm not really into real life NASCAR as much as I was 20 years ago, but I do this to run a competitive, fun league weekly to have fun. Look forward to it on a Monday or a Sunday that we race. People want to be I enjoy when people want to have fun doing it. I enjoy making friends doing it. I enjoy cutting up sometimes. I understand that we can't cut up as much as we want to because we got so many people here and we got to focus on racing. I tell everybody that every Monday night when I say, all right, time to focus, got to race. But I 100% understand that. I love the way that you look at that. We got one last question for you, and we'll let you go. Big Dad Junior
mhm.
fans, the last question is he wanted to reword it here. What is the one thing you most looking forward to with ILM next season?
I mean, there's so much to look forward to. But, I don't want to piggyback off of what I just said, but building that relationship and that rapport with those guys, we're going to have, I mean, Cody's still going to have his team. So we're going to, I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to say like a mega team, but we're going to have a really close alliance with our team and the guys over there. We're going to still have, I think our driver lineup for the other side is SK. I don't think West is going to be in it anymore, but,
No, West are
we got
gone.
SK.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he gone.
We got Silent Kings, who I love working with. He's a great teammate up for the four, and yeah, he's maybe not, you know, as quick, but he works with us. He helps, and he can still drive a damn race car. I mean, he was out front leading laps at Vegas. Man's fast. He's sneaky fast. He just needs to work on his racecraft a little bit, and if he does that, he really can work it because he can drive a race car. But
Yeah.
anyways, and that's not a shot at just anybody. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's guys, everybody in this league. I mean, I've seen Squid. He won the duel earlier in the season. You know,
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Yep.
All right, we want to thank you for your time.
of course.
I tell every interview I have, I always finish off with how I expect, how I give them, their flowers while they're here. I want to
Yeah.
tell you right now that you are one of my most respected drivers that I have personally.
Thanks, sir.
If I had to make a league for anybody, you would be a prime driver that I focus on, and this is the like you create a driver at a mold, it would be you. You show up, you
Aw.
have fun,
Wow,
you do the
Matt,
best
show
you
the
can.
love.
Look at Matt's
Uh,
getting our all heartfelt, man.
He's getting
yeah,
wholesome,
Shit.
bro.
just like a Joder dog, I tell him all the time. He races. He originally got the invite to do NXT, do both time because he is one of the people. He might not be the fastest in the world, but he races with everybody with respect and competitively. He doesn't get up in arms about it. In the chat, he's somebody that you look up to, that I want other people to look up to, and you are also on that same level, in my opinion. I think Georgia Dog would actually would even agree with me on that one.
Yeah.
You are a person who I root for. I don't, I root for my team. But I still have, as an owner, I'm like, okay, those are the champions that you want. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't, I don't play favorites. Everybody knows I don't play favorites or anything. But I
Yeah.
personally root for people to do their best. And you're one of them. I thank you for your
Thank you.
time today. I've been wanting to do this interview for a little while. You were next on my list. I'm
Oh,
happy that you had time.
Yeah,
Uh, Appreciate you being
hey,
here, and good luck the
definitely.
rest of the season and next year.
Yeah. Is there one thing I could say right before I hop off here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to the people that are just listening, I know this really doesn't matter to any of you. I mean, I'm 21. I'm not the most wise person in the world, but ultimately, at the end of the day, we're just doing this for fun. And the more important things in your life are loving yourself and loving the people around you. There's one message that I could say to the world. It's find true happiness and don't just stick on things that are outside of the real world. At the end of the day, we're doing this online, and I see some people in the league. Eeyore is namely one of them, and that's not just a shot at him. It's the truth. I see them and they're sad and they're depressed, and they
Mhm.
feel like they're not equivalent to their teammates. And it doesn't matter if you think that. Even if you're not running with them every week, you're still just as fast. Stay with it, keep in it, and the better energy you give yourself, the more confidence you build, the faster you'll be. And it all stems from just working, grinding, and understanding how to just be the best person that you can be.
Amen.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you for the great interview.
thank you, Lost.
I'm gonna
Oh,
sit in here and listen, but
perfect.
I'm
Yep.
I was
just
gonna say, if you want to make a pick for
Yeah, if you want to
Premiere
pick
when we
pick
get
from
to
here,
it,
we'll have to get to
sure.
it.
I'll do
we'll
some
let you in.
picks. I'll do some picks. I'll let you guys do your
Um,
stuff, but I'll do some
we
picks. Sure.
will skip a little bit of the power rankings this week. It wasn't
Hey,
much change
hey,
for you, Brand. If you have a major one that you want to talk about, I know there's a 42 car. I was a little angry at you, but
yeah.
obviously didn't really change much this week, so it's not much of it.
Sterlo moved
NXT
back
getting
up.
nice. Sterling did move back
Sterlo
up.
did
He was
move
happy about that. I'm sure he was happy about that.
back
But
up
we
to
will
two.
fast track. We will fast track our Premier Series preview before we get to
Phoenix.
NXT Phoenix. Now this is a track.
Yes.
I don't know if you consider this a short track,
Hmm.
intermediate track.
It's
It's like half and half in my opinion. You have to break.
yeah.
You lay off. You have to let off a lot. So it's um, not really intermediate, and I would say it's longer than most short tracks. I would say.
It,
Also, we have
it's
a
like
long
Gateway,
front stretch. Yeah, I could see.
like in
Yeah,
terms of
very true.
length. In terms of length. So here's the main thing. It's really hard to pass, especially at Phoenix. Something that Kama told me is you set up for the next corner. You don't go for
Hmm.
a pass immediately, and also shifting is going to be the key. So
Hmm.
it depends on where we're going to be running. Some people are going to be shifting, some people are going to not. And if you don't shift, you're relying on draft. It can be quick. So it's going to be fun to watch strategy between shifting and not shifting between the stages. That'll be one thing to watch. What do you do personally, Mets, at that track? Do you shift or not shift?
I think you have to shift, in my opinion. I mean, I personally, I'm not the fastest guy in the world. I race to basically be an admin, and I lay off. I don't really be aggressive, but if I'm going after it out of Phoenix, you have to either shift, and you have to shift, in my opinion. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
both ends of the track. Maybe let off of one end and then shift on the other end, and then get to those gears through the gears during the long dog leg, um, and under the apron and everything to get that run. But Phoenix is going to be an interesting one. I We'll get to picks right now. So you have the floor to give your first pick, and you obviously have a
Oh.
number one pick, and you also have a
Um,
dark horse pick. So pick your number one pick, and then pick a dark horse. We got
I
one
gotta do.
before we said what where it's going to be on times two.
So it's not. I think this is what I think. I don't know. I have to do my research. I'm gonna look at last year's results at Phoenix because I know I picked the winner last week. I'm on a hot streak right now, but I don't know who won this race last year. I'm trying to get over to it. But if I had to guess, if I have Proxy in my top four, and here's the thing, he missed last week. He's one of those guys that I currently have in my top four. If I don't know, I think if Proxy shows up, I think he'll win. Cause I don't know. He's been on a down spiral. Or Sterlo. Sterlo, I think I'm gonna pick Sterlo.
Okay,
Sterlo finally got in rhythm last week, and I feel like he will continue into a win this week.
it would be good.
My
Yeah,
secondary,
good point. Go
I
ahead.
think It is a good. I think Starlo's a great pick, especially because now he's off his bad streak. He had a few bad weeks in the round of 10 or round of 16, like we said, and that it hasn't. It finally got. He finally got done and over with it. And my
Hmm.
underdog pick would be actually, I think the person in the party currently who just joined, lost teammates Spartans. I picked him last week as my underdog.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, lost, but I think Spartans. He like Vegas NXT. He dominated
Hmm.
Phoenix, so I think he'll be able to secure a win also if he gets the opportunity.
That's great picks. Great picks.
Apologize, sir.
I would love to pick Lost right now, but
You should.
something in my head is telling me to pick this one driver I know is going to give everything they got. They got their first win just a couple weeks ago. They are deep in the playoff,
Ooh, I know who it
two
is.
2 points down currently. I'm going. My number one pick is Hot Ones. I think he is lightning flat fast at Phoenix. I don't know if anybody can keep up with him. We're gonna see Monday, obviously. But if it becomes a long, drawn out race, I think he pulls away with it with his speed there. I think it's his number one track. I think he's ready for it. I don't think has any stress going into being 2 points down on the points going into a second race around a 10 because how he knows how good he is there. And he's my winner's pick for that. My dark horse. Oh, that's tough because what do you dark horse pick when you're so confident in your first pick? Who do you go with dark horse? And Spartan's a good
Dark.
dark horse pick.
I already got him. He can be a playoff driver, by the way. It
It
can
can
be
be a playoff
anyone.
driver. Okay.
Mhm. I picked one. I
Um, I'm going dark horse. You know what? I'm gonna go dark horse. I'm gonna say Lee Holloway. I think he had a interest. I think he had a tough Vegas race. He got struck by some lag. And some hard racing with the 45 car that affected him in his finish. But I think he bounces back at I think he can. I think he has the potential to bounce back at Phoenix and be a top contender. He was also obviously a very fast car at Vegas. He might not get the finish, uh, how fast he
think he
was,
ran out of fuel.
but he definitely had the speed to do it. So I'll definitely be. Lee's my underdog pick. I think you consider him an underdog pick. I don't know which one you were referring to,
I
but
mean, Lee is an underdog. He's definitely one of those
Yes,
guys who's been on the up. I definitely see him running inside the top 10 potentially all night.
mhm.
Also, we're gonna get over to Lost, who's also in here. You get to pick someone.
Yeah, I know.
Now,
I'm
of course,
excited.
you can pick yourself. You can pick
Yep.
yourself as
I'm not gonna
well.
pick
Just
myself.
remember.
I'm not picking myself. No, 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 no.
All right, who are you
Um,
gonna pick?
so I might be a little biased here, obviously, you know.
Mhm.
But this is a genuine pick just based off of how I've seen him at road courses and short tracks just in general this season. But I'm gonna pick GSR. I think that
Okay.
he's had really
Hmm.
good speed on races where he's done a lot of braking. And the worst tracks that he's had so far this season have been those 1.5 mile racetracks. Not that he's been bad, but they've just not been the tracks that he's had the most speed at. His most speed has generally been the tour tracks,
Mhm.
which I think comes back to his real life racing experiences where he's done short track racing.
Yeah.
So I actually think that this is a really good week for him to go and prove his numbers and go get that first win. I think he's going to have pace.
Yeah.
And while it might be a sleeper pick, I think he's my number one pick. I think he's going to have a good pace. If we're going to go for an underdog pick, I think just going based off of the same logic that I just went to, I'm going to go between either Squid, because I saw how he was at the road courses. It's not his strongest suit,
Mhm.
but he does display the ability to hold his line through a braking zone. And when he doesn't miss the braking zone, which he didn't do a lot at Watkins Glen, he could hold it and do really well. And the other one I have, and you kind of stole it underneath me, was Lee Holloway.
Mhm.
Lee has had the just awful season. He has just had no luck from top to bottom, and I'm excited to work with him next season.
Mhm.
But I mean, man, he has just had a struggle season. Cannot get out of other people's way. Other people just use him up like a rag doll, and I hate seeing it because it's every damn week. And he
Mm-hmm.
makes aggressive calls that put him in that scenario, so I'm not going to say it's not on him a little bit because he races with aggressive strategy, and I love it. I love
Yeah.
watching the way he strategizes because it does work. But it just if he tweaks the way he does his strategies and kind of follows people sometimes instead of making kind of a bold strategy, which he's been doing the last couple weeks and it's worked out, I think he could have way more success. And I think that Phoenix, if he just changes up just a little bit, I think he have really good pace. Not to mention he's a local guy, and I like
Very
that.
true. Yeah,
So
there you go.
there we go. That's my
Hey,
Good
picks.
picks.
those are definitely good picks. Thank you for doing that loss. So finally, after 2 weeks though, oh
Two
yeah. By the
weeks.
way,
A
I just want
long
to
two.
state this. Mets, there was a good thing. You entered the top 20 for the Premier rankings. I forgot about that. You
Okay.
are number
Congrats.
19 over
Fuck
EXO.
yeah.
So
Oh,
you earned it, Mets.
19th place finish.
Congrats.
What can do that to you? I guess. I mean, if I could give you a hand, I would. If I could clap, I would. Um,
All right. All right. So back to
on
what
to
we were
NXT
saying.
Dega. 2 weeks off, a long 2 weeks.
Yes.
I didn't.
Cutoff
I set the
race.
schedule. I didn't want to do it. It was the only way we could do it. With 2 weeks off, real life NASCAR. We don't race league when we have real life NASCAR on Cup Series, I should say. We don't race when Cup Series on real life, so we had to take 2 weeks off for the All Star race, and then Coke 600. On Memorial Day weekend also
Hmm.
was there too. So basically, we were
Yeah.
off on Memorial Day weekend. That's always a good weekend to be off. Um, Now we go to
This
Talladega. I'm
elimination
happy Talladega. It's an
race.
elimination race. People are excited for it.
I'm excited.
There's a strong percentage of people who never done the grab away package as well. We have a lot of new
We have a
people
lot of new
who
people.
have came in before we've done a Talladega Daytona with the grab away package. So they're in for the treat with Talladega being the first one we've done since Daytona, first race of the season.
Hmm.
So they're going to be in for a treat. They're going to be racing. Team wise, you're going to need your teammates. Remember,
I've been
we
making.
have no premier drivers entering NXT playoff races. So you're going to
That
have
is a
to
good thing.
use if you're not racing for points in the final, if you're not racing for points again in the final four, show up for your team because they're going to need you. You're gonna need them help. You need the high lane working. You're gonna need that bottom lane work on the bottom. If you're a leader, can't be pushing. You're gonna need a pit stop strategy. Obviously, we talked to Lost today, and his team is one of the best at these tracks. Spartan will be there with his team and his associations. So we expect him to do good as well. He's won 2 in a row. See if he can make it 3 in a row. Um, and we'll find out. But who is your pick to win Talladega? You also the same thing. You'll get two. One
Ooh,
underdog,
okay.
one tough one. So who's your pick? Now these are more diverse.
Going
There's a lot
into
more underdogs
Yeah,
than
there's a lot more drivers. So going into this week, this is the elimination race. So this is one of the most important races of the season. Without West, I think it puts Wit on the cutoff line. Now Wit and Tyreek, everyone it's elimination race. Anything can happen. So we got a lot of new drivers, and that's gonna change up things. But I feel like someone who is always I think I don't know how well he ran in the last Super Series. I'm gonna go back to Auto Club for results
Mm-hmm.
because I'm gonna base it off of that. So some people who I expect to be up front is gonna be Dew Prime, but my overall pick for Dega is gonna be GS Racing.
Okay.
Him, Georgia Dog, I feel like they're locks in my opinion. I know I'm not a lock. I know I'm currently in, but I am not a lock myself. I believe unless I have to get stage points. I have to get a good finish. But my underdog, though, who I'm going to be helping personally, and I know he's going to be pushing it like he
Don't take my
stole it,
pick.
is
Don't
going
take
to.
my pick. Don't take my pick.
I'm sorry, Mats. I have to take him.
Okay.
He's
Take
currently in
it.
the
Just say it.
chat.
say
And
it's
Solable is my underdog, and I am going to be pushing
you
him if
take
I
it. You
have
didn't
to the
take
win.
it. Okay,
Ooh.
okay. He didn't take my pick. All
Ooh,
right,
I know.
good picks, great picks. I'm really excited for Talladega. This is one of my most excited. I've been waiting for this race for 2 weeks. Um, I've been thinking about it. Who's going to win it? Who's going to be the final four? But it's a get in final four race. You gotta need everything you can. And I think the winner is my number one pick. I'm going. I just mentioned it for 3 in a row. I'm going Spartans. He is a driver who's great on these plate tracks. He's adapted to the graboid package perfection, in my opinion. He has the respect to the drivers around him to you that you're going to need to help you in this graboid package to get to the front, stay up there, high lane, low lane, doesn't matter. He's not a guy who does a lot of he doesn't black flag himself a lot. I don't think he's ever black flagged himself to my knowledge. I think he might have got hit down pit road one time, but that's not to his ability, somebody else's inability. And he is my number one pick. Now my underdog here, my dark horse pick is also in the chat. I don't know if he's still on there, but I'm going Trevi. Trevi's the guy
Ooh, let's go, baby.
who is there every week. He's another person that I compare to like a Lost, who shows up, does the best he can. He doesn't say much. He's always positive. He just wants to race, have fun. He's somebody I've known in the racing circles for probably half a decade, I want to say. He's a guy we don't talk much outside of racing, but he's a guy I have tremendous respect for. He's been in ODRL slash AERL for years. He was the first person that I wanted in the NXT series, one who created it. Is that he was not able to race on Mondays when we moved to Saturday to Mondays for the Premier Series back in the day before anybody probably knows that story. So he wasn't able to race Mondays. So Sundays was a night he was able to race. So when we made the NXT series, I know that Sam reached out to him, aka Midnight, reached out to him, and he immediately agreed to it. And I was like, okay, that's perfect, and I'm happy about it. And now I'm picking him to win Talladega. I think he's gonna have the help to do it. He's respected from everybody enough. Now I do want to give you some respect here, but Bren has a real shot to get this Final Four and I'm rooting for him to get the Final Four. With best of luck, I want him to be an underdog story going into Homestead. And
Homestead is my best
as we
track, I
as
will
we end the
say.
time, as we end this podcast tonight, I want to wish you the best of luck at the Talladega. Do the best you can. Don't put any pressure on yourself, and just do the best you can. And best of luck to you. Thank you everybody for listening tonight. Thank you everybody for giving us a chance to talk about our crazy little league that we have. Thank you to Iron Man for always being my number one guy. Uh, Thank you for Spartan. I do have one breaking news that I
Ooh.
had not announced yet. Now I will announce it
Uh-oh.
right now that
Mm-hmm.
entering the season 10 of Premiere, season 3 of NXT, and season 1 of the new hybrid series we're doing, which is a hybrid of 2020 Cup Cars, Xfinity, and Truck Series we're going to do for a real developmental series before NXT on Sundays. We have a new position that I'm announcing right now that it's Spartans. I'm going to call Spartans because Camo's not here.
With the
Still going to say
S.
it. He will be our new ODRL commissioner. He is somebody who has been in ODRL for maybe
Uh-oh.
not a short amount of time, but he's already been senior admin for a long time. He's making great decisions, making great conversation when it comes to bettering this league. We talked about our issues this past Monday on our restarts and our getting everybody organized before we open pits, and we're really happy to have him
Roger
take this
Goodell.
next step for us. Uh, he won't get booed like him. I hope he doesn't get booed. But I want to
I don't
welcome
think he will.
Spartans as in our ODRL commissioner. Bad
Speak up.
Omens was our commissioner, ODRL
Right here.
commissioner, but he'll be stepping away in January from the game. So this will be his last NXT season. He'll still stay on as an advisor, but he won't be a decision maker anymore. He'll just be there to give us what his thoughts are. But we are happy for Spartans. We want to welcome him. If he's still here, if there's anything to say about it, he can feel free to say anything. I did want to announce that before we got off the air tonight. And thank
Just,
you everybody for listening.
just
Spartan.
appreciate
Okay.
the opportunity and helping better the league. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. See everybody this week. Catch the
Hey.
streams, Hendrick Fan 48 on
Mm-hmm.
Twitch, or Sunday
And
night, Talladega at 9:30 for qualifying, and then
uh,
the big one on Monday. To be determined if it's going to be on Camo's channel or Brent's channel. Depending on Camo's if he's available on Monday. He's going through a moving process right now. If you don't know his ability, check our Twitter at ODRL League. The league an L, an
so
ODRL, same word. And that will be where you can find out the links to that. And we look forward to it. What you got, Bryn?
So somebody, I was trying to get to this. I tried to message
Okay.
you in our Discord.
Oh, my bad.
Somebody
Sorry.
wants us to do Final Four predictions for NXT,
Okay.
and I
Okay.
know Spartans and Lost are in here. If Spartans, you're still here. I know we're
Yeah.
trying to get to Among Us after this.
Hmm.
We should all predict our Final Four. I'm gonna let you three go first, cause I don't want to go first. I want to hear it, cause I think I'm in it, so I shouldn't say my
I'm
prediction.
going.
I think you should say your prediction 100%.
You gotta say it. Yeah, say it.
You
I'm
have
gonna
validity
go.
in this.
I'm going
Sorry.
to say, obviously, it's going to be Georgia Dog, one. I'm not going to say in any particular order here. Um, Georgia Dog, one, with no West. GS is in there. Bren is obviously in there. And then one final one, I'm going to say he's only 9 points back. He can get in there by a good showing. Maybe a win, Talladega, obviously. Obviously, you can get Talladega. But I'm going Tyreek Speed will have a good chance to get himself in. I don't understand if he has that lobby to where he wants it where he doesn't lag, it could be a phenomenal race for him. Witt obviously is a good chance, but we'll see. Barn, do you have a final four prediction for NXT?
Yeah, well, I'll go with Georgia Dog, GS
Mm-hmm.
Racing, Bren, and then the final position. I think that Dew might be able to sneak out a win, and I think
Okay.
he is going to be the final four.
That's great. That's a great pick. Obviously, we don't have. Obviously, we just said West is gone, no longer there, and then Pratt has joined the military branch, the Navy, so he's no longer with us in the year. And then D'Allison has left
They.
the series,
Mm-hmm.
so obviously we're only down to either Insolvable, Dew Prime, Tyreek, or Witt, and then we have Bren, GS, Georgia. So, Bren, who is your final four for NXT?
So I've been saying this for a while. Georgia and GS. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't see a way they actually fall out of the top two. I would say myself probably, and
Okay.
then my teammate for next season, who I am actually so excited to be on board because I know him from PRL. He's one of those good people that I know. I know him from ARO as well. Is gonna be Wit. He's my teammate for next season. I have full confidence in his ability, and I think he will be the final four spot. It'll be
Beautiful.
fun.
Beautiful picks.
Yeah.
Lost, if you're still in here, I don't know if you were so familiar with the NXT or
Yep.
anything, but let's have your Final Four. I want to see your Final Four. Or if you have a
I
winner for Talladega as well.
Insolvable's gonna win the race.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, he will.
So we're gonna put him in the final four.
Okay.
We're gonna give GSR a final four spot.
Okay.
We're gonna give Brent a final four spot.
Okay.
And I love Georgia, but whenever I race with him on the super speedways, the one thing I noticed is that he was really good whenever he was pushing, when he was
Mhm.
right behind that Mr. West guy. And West isn't here.
Mhm. That's true.
And I think that while he does have a 15-point cushion on the cut right now, I think without him having that pusher, a lot of people are going to shuffle him out of lines, and it's going to be really difficult for him unless he plays a really good strategy to get up front and stay up front. So while I love Georgia, and I think that I have ultimate respect for him, I think he's going to miss out by like 1 or 2 points to Wit, and those are my final four: Wit,
Beautiful.
Insolvable, GSR, and did I say Bren? I said Bren.
Yeah.
Those are my final four.
Beautiful picks. I think they're all great picks. It's gonna be fun to see. Race of 10, final race. Gotta get fourth. You
Yes.
gotta get top four with only 10 drivers remaining. And the beauty of that right now is less competition because some people are no longer with us due to Brett being Navy. Allison left. West was removed or left himself.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be interesting. We're looking forward to it. Phoenix should be a great race this week as well on Premier Series.
Yes.
Hopefully, we got less drama. So hell, if we get more drama, we'll just talk about it here and talk about it out
I
and
mean,
talk about
shoot,
with
it
us.
gives
So
us topics. I
yeah,
mean, it does.
I want to thank everybody for listening. Obviously, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening on replay. Follow Bren. I know this is a weird week of a different host
People.
Twitch, but follow him. Um, you know, share the link, share everybody. We talk about ODRL, we talk about some NASCAR. Um, some questions get asked, but thank you everybody for listening, and everybody have a great night. See you next week.
Peace.